seeing through the truth of the five turbidities. Hello everyone, and welcome to today's sharing of the wonderful Dharma. Do you ever feel like this busy every single day, yet your heart is like a pool of murky water, unable to see the truth clearly? We calculate in our relationships, climb for status in our careers, and sink or float within our emotions. But have we ever asked ourselves who is the real you? In today's teaching from the fourth volume of the Ragama Astra, Nanda asks the Buddha a question that every practitioner dreams of. I already know that the mind, the treasury of the Tathagata, the wonderful, enlightened, and bright mind pervades the tender actions. But how do I enter? How do I subdue this heart that always loves to indulge in idle thoughts and cling to external environments? Today, let us listen to how the Buddha helps us dismantle this murky water of life and teaches us how to liberate ourselves from the five turbidities. Part E. Your causal mind determines your fruition enlightenment. The Buddha said to Nanda, and to us sentient beings of the Dharma ending age, if you decide to discover that spirit, the link capable of enlightenment, you must first understand two things. First, you must examine your initial resolve in the causal ground. Look at everything in this world, the mountains, rivers, earth, tables, chairs, and even your own body. Which of them is not in a state of constant change and extinction? Where there is birth, there must be death. This is called the Dharma of birth and death. Is the mind you use when you first begin your studies consistent with the spirit described by the Buddha? If you use the born and destroyed consciousness as your foundation, it is completely different from the unborn and undying spirit the Buddha speaks of. In that case, you simply cannot achieve the fruition of Buddhahood. The Buddha gave a very powerful example, voidness, space. You see that everything in this world eventually decays. But have you ever heard of voidness rotting away? No, why? Because voidness is not something created, not a conditioned thing. Therefore, it has no process of decay or destruction. Part R. Why does the pure spirit become turbid? The Buddha said that each of us originally possesses a perfect, wonderful, and enlightened true mind. However, due to the mutual entanglement of the four elements earth, water, fire, and wind, our wonderful bright true mind becomes fragmented. Once fragmented, what happens? If you want to see, you must rely solely on your eyes. If you want to hear, you must rely solely on your ears. This spirit itself is inherently capable of seeing, hearing, sensing, perceiving, and feeling. However, once mixed with the four elements, these functions are separated into sight, hearing, sensing, and perceiving. Your vision is locked within the eyes, and your hearing is locked within the ears. This is like a glass of pure water that was originally clean, but someone threw a handful of sand and dirt into it. As a result, the dirt loses its solid form, and the water loses its clarity, becoming a swirling, murky mess. This is what we call turbidity. The Buddha categorized this murkiness of sentient beings into 5 levels, famously known as the 5 turbidities. Part 3. Deconstructing the 5 turbidities. E. The turbidity of time, Kalpakaya. The first is the turbidity of time. The Buddha asks, can you separate voidness from your vision? In truth, they cannot be separated. But because we create false interweaving within the formless, we achieve this illusory phenomenon of time and space. R. The turbidity of views, Dikaya. The second is the turbidity of views. This arises because our physical body, formed by the union of the 4 elements, mixes with our spiritual perception and produces erroneous understandings. The Buddha used a wonderful metaphor. It is like wearing red-tinted glasses. The world clearly isn't red, but you insist that it is. The world isn't wrong. Your view is wrong because you are seeing through red-tinted glasses. This is the turbidity of views. 3. The turbidity of afflictions, Klikaya. The third is the turbidity of afflictions. This is closely related to every one of us. It is idle thinking delusion. The things you think about are all images, the 6 dusts that you have seen, heard, or felt before. If you had never seen or heard them, you wouldn't be able to think of them at all. This is called apart from the dust. There is no form. Yet, this idle thinking has no nature of its own without the spirit's perception. The mixing of this inherent nature with these external images creates the third layer, the turbidity of afflictions, also known as delusive thinking. 4. The turbidity of sentient beings, sattva kaya. The fourth is the turbidity of sentient beings. Day and night, our births and deaths never stop. This heart of ours wanders constantly in the worldly realm, creating karma. Consequently, the force of karma carries us to different lands and different forms of life. Born here one moment and there the next. This is the turbidity of sentient beings. 5. The turbidity of life yukaya. The final layer is the turbidity of life. Originally, our seeing, hearing, sensing, and knowing were one. But because we are separated by the various dusts, meaning the different karma each person has created since time immemorial, our perception of the same person differs. If you have a good karmic connection with someone, you feel joy. If someone else has a bad karmic connection with them, they feel dislike. Even more tragic is acting contrary to one's wishes. Everyone wants to be wealthy, yet they constantly engage in greed and theft. Everyone wants to be healthy, yet they constantly kill, eat meat, and engage in divisive speech. This is using your actions to betray your own desires, eventually forming this miserable life. Part 4. How to settle the murky water of life. After hearing about these 5 turbidities, you might feel that life is hopeless. But the Buddha gave us the simplest detox plan. He said, if you wish to enter the spirit of permanence, bliss, true self, and purity, you must first stay attached to that spirit and do not move. This is like clarifying murky water. Step E. Stillness. Place this murky water into a still container and keep it deep, quiet, and unmoving. If you do not stir it, the sand and silt, the external afflictions, will naturally settle to the bottom. When the clear water appears, this is called initially subduing the afflictions of guest dust. You begin to stop running after your delusive thoughts, feelings, and impulses. Step R. Filtration. If you can completely remove the silt that has settled at the bottom, leaving only pure water, this is called permanently severing fundamental ignorance. Step 3. Spontaneous manifestation. When the water is completely pure and refined, you can look again at all the changing phenomena of this world, and you will no longer give rise to greed, anger, or ignorance. At this time, every single move you make and every word you speak is no longer an impulse of affliction, but the spirit manifesting its pure and wonderful virtue. Conclusion. Dear listeners, the Buddha told Nanda today that cultivation is not about adding anything, but about learning how to settle. The reason we suffer is that we are constantly stirring within these 5 turbidities. Starting today, try to give yourself some time. Attach yourself to that pure spirit and stay still. Do not follow your feelings. Do not follow your attachments. When you stop stirring that murky water, pure wisdom will naturally manifest. Thank you for listening to this session of the Ragama Wonderful Dharma shared by Buddha Dharma Practice Australia. May all sentient beings turn away from chasing those illusory external things and attach themselves to their own pure spirit. Stay still and become one with your bright spirit. May every action be a manifestation of the spirit's merit and virtue. Rely on the spirit to establish the 5 roots, the 5 powers, and the 7 factors of enlightenment, and soon fulfill the perfection of a Buddha. See you next time.